Kia ora and welcome to this webinar, Legal Technology Tips and Tricks for Running a Law Firm. Our host today is Ben Chiriboga. Ben is Global Head of Growth for Nexcel, a CRM company for lawyers based all over the world, but started up from Sydney, Australia. Ben is based in America, and he was a senior associate at a litigation law firm before he joined Nexcel to do the current job as Head of Growth. Over to you, Ben.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Antesh. And hello to the New Zealand Law Society. Again, welcome to our third webinar in this series. If you joined us the previous two webinars, we had the opportunity in those previous two webinars to go over some tips and tricks for transactional lawyers, as well as some tips and tricks for litigation practicing lawyers as well. And while those two webinars really focused on the actual practice of law and how legal technology and technology in general can help the practice of law, this is really going to be focused on the business of law and helping you run your practice more efficiently or your law firm more efficiently for those of you who are in an executive or managing partner role for your law firm. So I'm very excited. This will really complement the other previous two webinars, which are really more about practice. This will really be about the business of law and running your law firm. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And Antesh, if you could just give me the thumbs up if you can see it, and then we'll go ahead. Can everybody see my screen, hopefully? We'll go ahead and get started. Great. Okay, wonderful. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started here. Just a couple housekeeping. If any of you do have any questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat and I will try to answer them either in the context of the presentation or following. And the second is Antesh is actually going to be helping me today. So I'm going to pass off some of my presentation duties to Antesh as well. And he'll be really picking it up from where I left off. So very excited and thank you to Antesh for doing that. Okay, so let's go over some tips and tricks technology can help you with running your law firm. It's a topic I'm very passionate about, in part because I spend my day job at Nexcel really thinking about how law firms can operationalize their marketing, their business development, as well as their operations specifically, all to make it so that the business of law and their law firm can run more efficiently at scale. This is, I think, a topic that's needed today. Of course, law firms have never faced more competition than ever before based on outside competition, while the barriers of entry to starting a law firm, at least operationally, arguably have never been lower, especially with remote work and a lot of software products and outsourcing really allowing for law firms to really get up and running very, very quickly. If you've been paying attention to a lot of the news, you can see a lot of lateral movement. And of course, the hiring is really a function of people really moving around and even starting their own law firms. So this is really going to be focused again on the business of law. And we're really going to go over three main core ideas. The first is increased marketing and business development efficiency. This is where I spend a lot of my day helping law firms with their marketing and business development, making sure that they are reaching the right clients and expanding those clients. The second is client experience, really allowing for clients to not only get great legal service and great legal advice, but experience a legal product and a legal service in a much more consummate way that really maps to the expectations of clients today. And the last is better business operations, really reducing the costs of running a law firm, making sure that a law firm is run with the highest operational efficiency in their back office. So we're going to go over these three main, and I think Anitesh is really going to help with the business operations in the back end. So let's go ahead and get to this next slide. I'm very passionate about helping law firms run more efficiently and like a business. As a former lawyer myself, who is now helping law firms become more business-like, the truth is that good legal advice is now assumed. This is basically the baseline to basically being able to run a practice. Clients assume that you are a great lawyer, or else they wouldn't really be even engaging with you in any one way. So the product of law firms today has really gone beyond just legal advice. And today, clients really expect a much more professional, a much more business-like client experience today. And what we say or what we're seeing in the market really all around the world today is that delivering a great client experience is really the difference between getting a piece of work one time and turning that piece of work into a client. Just delivering good enough service and good legal service is not enough to keep a client forever. The experience and the service experience in which that is delivered really is the difference between getting the work one time and getting that client for a repeat number of times. So let's, before we do, for those of you who have never met me before or were not on the first two webinars, I'll just do a brief bio of myself by way of a story. In 2015, I was a lawyer within a mid-sized law firm as a senior associate corporate litigator within a firm. And during that time, I really had my first foray into legal technology. I was struggling with some discovery, and the law firm was able to bring in an e-discovery vendor. And that e-discovery vendor, using some technology, was basically able to find a piece of evidence within a large discovery stack, a piece of evidence that we had been looking for, and was able to do what I had not been able to do in 6 weeks, had basically been able to do it in 6 hours. Since that time, I basically came to realize that the perks of combining legal technology with legal advice are tremendous. So much so that I quit my job at the law firm. I moved up to New York City, and I really began my career in legal technology. And I've never really looked back since. Fast forward to 2022, today I'm the global head of growth at Nexl, which is a no data entry CRM and a revenue operations platform that really helps mid-market law firms to global law firms with their business development and their revenue. So let's get into some of those perks specifically for running a law firm. And I've already sort of alluded to them. There are two. The first is better service experience. Today, clients really demand a legal experience like their other consumer experiences. They assume that the product that you are selling, which is effectively your legal service, should be up to standard and just as good as anybody else around. That's in fact why they are engaging with you. And what we are finding time after time again is that for clients, really the entire service experience is what they are looking for. Responsiveness, how much you are delivering the work in a way that is useful and practical, as well as how insightful that work is within the general business environment in which those clients are really experiencing. And granted, I am talking about a more corporate and business clients versus a more B2, a more consumer experience. But I think in general, the point still sort of remains that clients, regardless of whether or not they are individuals or companies, are really looking for a complete experience today. Things like relevant marketing and nurturing. People want to be engaged with the companies that, especially their advisors, if they truly feel like you are a company that is going to get repeat business, they want to have a relationship with the people in that company as well as the company themselves. Client follow-up and feedback, really engaging clients in a way that shows them that you are going above and beyond just delivering a service. You are looking to get better with that service, and you are looking to get feedback with that service. And then finally, engaging service experience, really making sure that your product and your work product is delivered within a much larger client experience. And today, there are client service teams, there are sector teams. Law firms are really investing in their clients, knowing that that investment will really be returned if the experience is delivered in a real consummate way. And technology can really help scale this so that the cost of delivering those client services is not exorbitant today, which is not just lots of people, but people enabled by technology to deliver these experiences without large costs today. So that's the one takeaway here. The second is better legal business. So if we were talking about the delivery of those services to the actual clients and how the clients are receiving that legal service, legal technology specifically around the business of law or managing your business can also help your business run more effectively and really help you with margins and revenue as well. So this is that we're going to get into how technology can help you get better business clients, how it can help you increase the margin that you make from those clients, while also reducing the overhead costs associated with managing those clients today. And what we'll go over is we'll show you how technology can help you generate more of the right type of clients so that you don't have to wait for clients to come to you. You can really go out and reach clients and really focus on targeting the right clients. We'll show you some tips and technologies around retaining clients longer by nurturing and doing business development activities that are empowered by technology. Of course, the lifetime value will increase the longer that you keep clients rather than just doing one piece of work for them. Also expanding client accounts and services. So you can keep a client for very long, but you can also sell a client more services, or you can get deeper into their wallet, as it were. I think there's a very famous statistic, which is on average, a client has 5 pieces of legal work. On average, 5 large pieces of legal work. But on average, the average law firm only sells that client 1 piece of legal work. So they are leaving 4 other pieces. So this is what we talk about when we talk about expansion. And then finally, we'll go over around practice management software and using other pieces of software, how you can reduce the costs associated with running your law firm by allowing for less people to do much more. So reducing the salaries and reducing just in general the overhead expenses, which are involved. And again, technology can kind of help here. Okay, so hopefully that's clear. So technology here, we're going to go over that technology can help with the actual end client service experience, which is how clients today want to consume their legal services within a broader experience. And then it can also help you expand those clients and generate more billable work from those clients for less cost, basically. So these 2 sides really are what we're going to be focusing on today. Okay, so what are the tools that we are going to go over today? Well, the first is going to be internal team alignment and collaboration tools. These tools are really designed to help your team function as a more cohesive unit, allowing for more operational efficiency within your law firm, which is just really a fancy way of saying everybody is a little bit more in line with one another and knows what everybody else is doing at any point in time. The second is we're going to do practice management, and Hitesh is going to talk a little bit about practice management specifically. The third piece is we're going to go over marketing automation. Marketing automation is all around scaling your marketing message so that more people outside of your immediate network actually know about you. And the last piece of this is CRMs and business development tools, which is really the other side of the coin. If marketing helps people outside of your network that you have developed know you, so you're expanding your network through marketing, then business development and CRMs and relationship management really help those people who now know you, like you and get to trust you so that they will deliver your work. And continue to deliver work for you and come back to you. And finally, just a quick disclaimer here. All the tools that I'm going to mention are usable within New Zealand. They're completely agnostic. And if you have any questions about certain companies that are based within New Zealand, I'm happy to try to answer some of those questions as well. Okay, so let's kick it off. Let's go into team and collaboration tools. So what are team and collaboration tools? Team and collaboration tools, and that software category, excuse me, are really designed to help drive internal alignment between multiple teams within your law firms and reduce the number of meetings and or misalignment caused by silos. If you're like most law firms that certainly I speak to on a day-to-day basis, or which I've worked in the past, you probably have many different teams that are doing many different things. You might have a client service team that is making sure that they're getting client feedback and working with the clients between matters. You might have a marketing team that is, of course, trying to reach new people and expand the brand of your law firm. You even might have a business development or business development coaching team, which is either trying to bring those new clients into the firm, or coaching lawyers on better business development tactics to make sure that they are doing the most, turning those relationships into revenue predictably. And you even, of course, have operational people in the back, making sure that the office and the general operations are all working collaboratively. Now, the problem is today those are a lot of different people doing a lot of different things, but how do all of those people come together and really focus and make sure that everybody knows what everybody else is doing and that everybody else can communicate with everybody else? Of course, today, many people use email to do that, but email is notoriously very confusing because your internal communication is then mixed up with your external communication, and many things can sort of slip through the cracks. Moreover, email, of course, is just a messaging and a communication tool. It's not a team collaboration tool. And what we have seen over the last, I would say 5 years, is really this expansion of collaboration tools. And one that maybe many people who deal with the Microsoft ecosystem are used to is Microsoft Teams, of course. Microsoft Teams has kind of arisen as a collaboration and communication platform to replace email specifically for internal communications. And many people I know, especially during the pandemic, got started with Microsoft Teams. What I want to talk about is not necessarily Microsoft Teams, and if you're not on Microsoft Teams, there's a plethora of information. But what I want to talk about within the Microsoft Teams ecosystem is the idea of Power Applications. Power Applications within Microsoft Teams are really powerful small systems, small apps, just like you have on your phone, that really allow for your team to do much more with much less. And one of my favorite collaboration tools and one of my favorite power apps within the Microsoft Teams ecosystem that is completely free, it's just one click, is the approvals. Approvals are really a very powerful Power App that you can use within the Microsoft ecosystem. And what they are used for is basically getting approvals and also registering or capturing those approvals within your collaboration platform, while also making sure that other people are knowing who needs to approve and when are things being approved and not approved during this time. Agreement can be very difficult, and all the back and forth that go between having certain teams approve certain different things and not knowing when other people have approved things can cause an incredible amount of buildup and backup. Now, not only does that cause backup and unnecessary meetings or unnecessary pings and messages because you don't know if something has been approved, but that also delays the client experience that's going out to those clients. And instead, what is happening is unnecessary delays because approvals are getting caught basically in the mix. Now, this is just one example of Power Apps that can really not only operationalize and align the teams by basically allowing for many people to see what is going on at any point in time, but it can also increase the client service experience as well. So this was my first example, and the tip here is that within collaboration, within these tools like Teams, like Trello, if you're familiar with that, which is just a collaboration tool, there is so much automation that can really come into these environments to really allow you to move much quicker and much more asynchronously. In other words, many different people working on things at many different times while also communicating. So that's the first operational tool that I want to talk about, which can reduce some of the operational efficiency by virtue of trying to manage things within email rather than managing them out in the open in a much more collaborative environment. And the gains that are made both internally efficiently, but also for the client experience by using collaboration tools and using automation within these tools. Okay, moving on to marketing automation, we're sort of going from the back office now to the front office and the client-facing sort of part of this. Marketing automation has really expanded and exploded within not only as a software category, but also within law firms in general. Law firms around 2010 to 2015, in response to client demands for better nurturing and better communication, as well as increased competition, really started to bring on marketing automation in a very significant way. Marketing automation software, and some of the most famous marketing automation might be MailChimp or HubSpot or Marketo, very large companies around the world. Marketing automation is really designed and refers to technology that's designed for marketing departments to more effectively market on multiple channels such as email, social media, websites, while also automating some of the repetitive marketing tasks that go along with that. So again, this is to make the obvious point, there's a operational efficiency by using marketing automation. Fewer people within your law firm can do much more and reach much more people by using technology plus their strategy and their people together. But it also increases the client service experience, because today basically clients can communicate with you and get communications through a variety of different manners, be it social media, be it through their email. And marketing automation allows for law firms to really reach many people in a way that people want to be exchanged. Although many of us would probably say that we receive too many emails, the more subtle point, of course, is that, well, we like to receive things by email, right? Today, that's a main form of communication. Just imagine if you tried to communicate with your clients purely by phone. It would not be practical, and you really wouldn't get through because people are mostly in an ecosystem of social media and email today. So that's their preferred method of communication. And marketing automation, of course, allows you to deliver an experience within those channels. I don't have a tool that I want to recommend you. Instead, I wanted to first show you what is a very famous slide that many people probably, especially if you work in marketing, many people are familiar with. Scott Brinker, who is the Chief Technology Officer at HubSpot, in 2011, excuse me, started what's called the Marketing Map. At that point in time, marketing technology was filled with about 150 different companies. Over the course of the last 12 years to 2002, those 150 companies have basically expanded to 9,932 marketing automation companies. So to recommend you one tool here to use, and they can all be used, they're completely industry largely and jurisdictionally agnostic. To recommend you one tool would be insane because there's 9,000 companies to basically select from that really do a variety of different things that I can't even begin to sort of explain. Every single part of all of marketing has basically been automated largely. Instead, I want to give you a suggestion. If you are thinking about increasing your marketing automation in your marketing technology stack, what I would give you the tip is to basically decide what is your strongest marketing strategy today. And that can be in terms of the revenue that comes in from that marketing strategy, or simply where you feel like you have the most competence today. Many law firms, of course, start with events. They might be very good for managing virtual events, in real life events. There is automation that can help you manage and scale events. You might be very good at webinars. There's, of course, automation that can help you drive more efficiency in your webinars. You might really like newsletters. There is an app for that as well, and so on and so on and so on. If there is a marketing strategy that you are trying to scale, I guarantee you that there is a company out there, probably even more than one, quite frankly, today. Okay, so moving along, we've talked a little bit about the back office and projects and strategies and keeping people aligned and operationally efficient using collaboration tools that really allow for faster delivery, faster client service delivery, and also more alignment between teams. Next, we went from the back office to the front office with marketing and really talking a little bit about the variety of different software tools that are really available today for your marketing team to reach many people with very few people. And finally, we're going to talk around CRMs and business development tools, which is really kind of the last major piece, notwithstanding practice management, which Anesh will go through. CRMs and business development tools are really the flip side of the coin whenever it comes to marketing. If marketing is there to expand your presence and your brand outside of your current network that knows you and likes you, to go beyond that network, then business development and CRMs are there to nurture those new people into basically becoming clients on a one-to-one basis versus marketing, which is really a one-to-many type of communication. So business development is really there to help people trust you by basically forming a personal relationship today. And business development software is really, again, there to empower individuals to really nurture relationships with more people than they basically could, let's say, on a one-to-one basis today. And this category, of course, is expanding very quickly, and you would be surprised. And pretty soon, it'll probably be as large as the marketing automation category that is around today. The most well-known CRM in the world is probably Salesforce, and Salesforce has its benefits, but of course, Salesforce was designed for businesses that actually run a sales force. And law firms notoriously do not have salespeople. Those salespeople, of course, are lawyers who sell themselves and their services. So Salesforce had its role 20 years ago today, but really there is a completely new wave of CRMs and business development tools that are cropping up to really sort of replace Salesforce and give professional services and even law firms who really do not sell with the Salesforce and are not organized like that, but still give them the tools that they would need to really nurture their relationships and turn those relationships into revenue by turning those people into clients today. And I'm proud to say that I worked for one of those companies, Nexl. Nexl is a no data entry CRM and a complete revenue operations platform that really allows for you to do all of the revenue strategies that you would be looking for as really to grow your revenue. It can capture all of your relationships. It can align your marketing and your business development. It can help lawyers develop their practice plans and keep them organized. And it can really empower your client service teams to get feedback and follow up with clients in between matters. It is a complete platform, and we really designed it from the ground up with the law firm in mind. And there are other CRMs that are based on legal as well. But of course, I would be remiss not to mention mine and Nexl as well. So we're working with clients in New Zealand, Maine Weatherfall, and a variety of different clients today. And if you'd like to learn more about it, please go ahead and reach out to me. But it's an incredibly important software category today, CRMs and business development. And it really allows for lawyers to really develop these relationships with the good people that your marketing is basically bringing in to your ecosystem. So I'm going to be turning it over to Anitesh very quickly, but I just want to come full circle back to why this type of software and why these types of tools are very important. And the reason is, again, because in today's competitive landscape, good legal service is basically assumed by clients. They would not be engaging with you if they thought that you could not do the matter. So the difference really between capturing that client and developing a very long relationship and getting more matters really comes down to today a great client service experience. And of course, just think about your own daily lives outside of lawyers. You know, think about the experiences that you have with other businesses, and that you just assume the product will be good, and the difference tends to be basically the experience or the total buying experience and the total client service experience that you're experiencing. This is really the differentiation today for most law firms, and that's why you see law firms developing so many client programs and client service teams today, because really it's table stakes today. And technology has a role to play with that, but of course, technology needs to be complemented with processes, as well as people, platforms, technology, and processes together. And that's where we see a lot of this investment, really helping operationalize law firms and helping them run like businesses today. Because at the end of the day, it's all about happy clients and happy customers. And that's really where repeat business comes back to. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing right now, and I'll turn it over to Anitesh, who can pick it up with practice management and a little bit about the Microsoft environment.
Thanks, Ben. That's great. Now, I'll talk about practice management systems, and I'll talk about Office 365 and how we can use that to make our lives a lot better. Before I start though, I just wanted to say, when you go to a doctor, you don't expect them to be in the practicing medicine in the 1980s. You want them to be practicing at the level that we are in 2022, basically. So a lot of these surgeries are happening with keyholes, unlike in the 1980s. So that's what I say to lawyers is, as a lawyer myself who does litigation, I always say to everyone that I talk to that we need to be practicing in the current age, i.e. in 2022, and not be getting surgeries where they cut you up fully instead of using a keyhole thing. Why do the same for our clients? So we need to be using things which makes it cheaper for clients, also makes our lives easier, so we can go to the beach and we can do other things while being able to undertake work quickly in an efficient manner. So our practice management system is there for that, actually. So there's a lot of practice management systems out there. A lot of these are based in Australia and New Zealand. Some of them are based in US. For example, Rocket Matter, Clio is an American company. Leap is everywhere. They're coming into New Zealand, I know. Matero is a Australian company based in New Zealand as well. Action Step is a very big New Zealand company, and Casebox is a smaller company, but there's tons of them. If you look for it online, you can find a lot of them. So what I want to talk about is what you need to be looking at when you are looking at PMSs. Instead of saying practice management systems, I'll just say PMS. So first thing you want to have is something which is cloud-based. It's a must, because what cloud-based systems allow you to do is to have it a backup in the system. It can access it from anywhere in the world. You could be sitting in Philippines, or you could be sitting in the US, or you could be sitting in New Zealand. You could be having all the information right there and then. And usually, most of the time, they do a backup, or they'll do 3 backups or 4 backups. And so it's always there. It's always to ask these questions with the provider. If they provide backups or they do backups, there will be, but just to be sure, it's best to ask them these things. Now, the other thing which PMSs allow you to do is to allow workflows. So if you do property or commercial or civil litigation or criminal, they will set up workflows in there. So basically, in a conveyancing matter, for example, the process is there's a client intake, and then you're sending, you're checking the sales and purchase agreement, and you're going through the whole process, and you're getting the clients to sign the ANI and all that stuff. It will be set up in such a way that it's like a task list, and so it takes you through the process. And if you don't do one of the tasks, it'll prompt you and then say, this has not been completed. Do you want to complete this? So you kind of follow a whole process in there. Same goes for civil litigation, for example, where you're looking at it from a litigation perspective. There's issues around limitation. It kind of says a limitation date has not put in place. Do you want to put that now? Or if it's kind of following a debt recovery space, it'll say, well, if it's a company, follow a step demand and then issue proceedings if not paid, and go through the whole process. Also allows you to have templates and precedents. So a lot of these practice management systems will have forms which are court forms, or forms like that you can get from other companies which are set up in there. You can also use your own letters. So they can help you put your own stock standard letters, i.e. letters to sending to the client saying, please see attached document. We will get in touch with you about further information. So whatever you want to say, or for example, the engagement letter, that could be automated. It fills in the information for you. You also want to look at invoicing because I know a lot of businesses in New Zealand use Xero, so you probably want to have something which integrates with Xero, because that way you can do your GST side of things quite quickly. You can do your taxes in the back end quite quickly. So you want to have something which does invoicing and integrates with Xero if possible. Trust accounting, most of them do it. When you're working with the American companies though, just check that it is going to be compliant. It's not much of a task to check that. There's certain things that you need to just look at if they're compliant with the New Zealand system, that's all. A lot of them offer client portals as well, which is where clients, you don't have to send them, bombard them with several emails. Instead, what you do is you have a portal, and so every time a document which needs to be checked, or there's something which needs to be looked at, a text message can go out to them, or email, whatever works for you or for the client, and it says you've got a new document in the portal, and then if you want to put a message or have a small message and say whatever you want to, but it's all there so the client can look at it. Auto-filing emails, it saves a lot of time. You want to be looking at that because that helps you with filing emails so that you don't have to be filing each email in the meta. It auto-files it. There are systems out there which will just recognize that it belongs to this meta because it's got a meta number on it, or it's got a specific email, and it auto-files it. So you can still see it in your inbox, but it has made a copy and filed it to the right system. So there are some free options like Casebox. If you look at it, that's a free option, but it's probably not, it probably doesn't have all the things that you want, but you can try it, give it a go. What I recommend is you do is go, if you are looking at practice management systems, and try and sign up for the free signups for all of them and try it out. It doesn't take long. And in hours time, you'll know which one you like the best, which one works for you. And then you can customize it to work with your practice. So that's kind of key, that what things you need to be looking at. So make sure it is cloud-based, though. That's the most important thing. It has workflow, so you can set up a workflow. And when you have juniors coming through, they can know what to do, and also the templates, because then you're not having to retype the letters. Things to look out for when you are getting a practice management system is pricing and contract. So some of them will try and lock you up for 3 years and say, well, this is for 3 years that you're locked up into the contract. The issue with that is what happens if they start to increase their prices. So I've heard of horror stories where they'll lock you in at, for example, $100 a month, and then over time they'll bring it up to $300 a month, and it becomes quite expensive. So that's something you need to be asking for is what's the price increase like, and kind of negotiate that down. A lot of these companies will negotiate. I haven't negotiated with the American companies, but a lot of the Australian, New Zealand-based companies, I found that they are willing to negotiate with you a little bit. The other thing is you need to be looking at backup. So I believe that you need to have a backup for your system, which could be encrypted. Again, it might sound like I'm talking a tech lingo to you, but this is key, that you need to have a backup system to be able to download your files. What happens is there are some practice management systems that don't provide you the ability to download the documents that you've created. So basically, they want you to be in the system for a long time. And so it's very hard to get out of the system. So they don't allow you to back up your documents. Now, there's obviously risk with that because there's insurance risk with that. And the other issue is if you leave, then your documents are stuck there. And so in order to get those documents, they're charging you $1,000 to download 10 documents. So make sure you're talking to them about this and see that you can download the documents and be able to kind of keep those metadata. If you want to change providers, for example, someone's got too expensive or they're not providing the right amount of support. Support's the other big thing, because if a system's based on the cloud, you need to be looking at it in a perspective to say, well, if the system comes down or something doesn't work like it should, what happens then? Because you need to be looking at, if it's a New Zealand or Australian-based company, they should be working 8 to 5 kind of time frames. It's American-based companies. Some of them offer 24 hours, others don't. So look at that thing, because if the system's down, then you won't be able to access your documents. You won't be able to do things. So we're talking to the companies who are working with about their support system, whether they allow phone calls or whether they allow you to do email support or chat support, to be asking those questions. Setup, again, some of them will do customized setups for you and templates, so they'll do all this for you. I know some providers went up to $3,000 for the setup fee. You're welcome to pay for that, because sometimes as a lawyer, you understand the law better than you understand how to deal with technology. So again, talk to providers to see if you can negotiate those amounts and get them to set up your whole workflow so you know your workflow better. Some of them will give you workflows already, but others won't. So you can ask them to set up a workflow for you, your task list for each kind of matter. For example, in litigation, if I'm doing debt recovery, if it's a bankruptcy matter, there's a different task set up. compared to a liquidation matter, or compared to a matter that I'm dealing with when it comes to just a normal litigation matter. So you need to be looking at those things. For example, if you're doing Wilson Estates, it's very different to property matters. I've already spoken about cost to move providers. So this is one thing you need to be talking to all your providers is what's the cost to move and whether they'll let you download your documents and take it to the other provider. And third-party integrations as well. So new software is always coming out. You need to be able to integrate with new software. Some of them will have their own companies, so it'll be like a parent company which will have something else, but they'll be quite expensive. So see if you can find a provider where they can allow you to have third-party integrations with the system, for example, so that you don't have to be spending an arm and a leg on the an add-on, which you can get for a lot cheaper somewhere else because you're using a provider. So these are things you need to be looking out for when you're using a practice management system. Now, I'm going to talk about Office 365 quickly, just keeping in mind time-wise. Office 365 allows for voice dictation. So if I just show you where it is, if you go into Office 365, you can click on the dictate button, and this allows you to do the dictation. I don't want to go through it right now, but it's all set up in there, so you can just click dictate and it starts to type for you. So you just have to go down and it'll go through the whole process. It's because I'm on Zoom, it's not doing the recording right now, but you could do that. The next thing you could do is there's enable the grammar and refinement option. So some people use Grammarly and other software to kind of help with grammar and spelling and stuff. Now, Word has inbuilt grammar and spelling things already, which is very basic from what you use, but you can go into options. So if you just Google this and say enable grammar and refinement options, and in Word, you can see some amazing things that you can do. It allows you to kind of rephrase documents, and it'll set it up there. So there's a lot more options. It's just not enabled from the get-go when you start using it. Also set up styles. So if your Office is a specific style and templates, you can do it in Office as well. And that could be linked to your PMS. So when you're sending it out to your clients, documents, if you're creating it from the get-go, your styles will be set up straight away. Again, you can look up this by Googling it, but it's very easy to set up styles so that it takes a specific font, a specific headings you can use, so you don't have to kind of go and change it individually. It's all in there. The other thing you need to be looking at is OneDrive. OneDrive is part of Office 365. Now, in saying that I use Office 365 myself, you can use Google Office or Google Business. They provide similar services as well, but I just have always used Office, so I prefer using Office. And you can use Google or other providers if you like. OneDrive allows you to have storage and sharing, so you can have really good storage, and there's 1 terabyte, which is a lot of space. That's a lot of documents and PDFs that you've created, basically. And it can buy more data if you need to, but that's something you could use. The business account allows to add flows and automate tasks. I think Ben spoke a little bit about that, but if you go into OneDrive, it allows you to have hundreds of templates of what you can automate. So you can literally automate, for example, if someone sends you an email and has got an attachment to it, it'll pull out the attachment and just store it in your OneDrive. So you don't have to then take it yourself and store it. You can forward emails to a specific email address. You can do a lot of things in there. Have a play around with that. So you have to just go into OneDrive and go and look at Power Automate and My Flows. You can automate a lot of things. Like you can send a document to your manager if you have a manager or your client, and they can approve it from there. It can extract data from documents if you've got a PDF and just kind of bring that out for you. So it's very, very good system to use, I think, if you're wanting to kind of get started on the technology side of things. The other thing is the use of calendar, email, and calendar. So you can drag the email. If you have an email, you can drag it to the calendar icon in your email, and it'll create a new event. You will have to fill in. You don't have to fill in the details except for the time and the date. Everything else is filled in for you. So you just have to kind of say, this is the time and the date that you need to fill in, that this event needs to happen, and everything else, the email itself becomes the body of the calendar invite. And if the email came from a specific person, usually it picks up that it needs to go out to the person as an invite, or you can just remove that person. Also, if you don't have a practice management system, you can use a auto file system. So set up rules in your email where if you have a client number, or you have a meta number, you can actually auto file those to different folders. So you don't have to be physically doing it yourself. Again, look up setting up email rules, and it will pick up on those 4 or 5 digit numbers if you use digit numbers as a way to work it. Or whatever way you're looking at it, it could be emails from a specific person or go into a specific folder, or I like to do it with a meta number. So if I have a specific meta number in the email, I'll just say, okay, this meta number is in the subject line, it needs to be emailed to a specific place. Again, that's a lot of time that you'll be saving in doing that, because otherwise you're doing this every day and then you miss one and something goes wrong, and you just have to deal with it later, whereas this kind of just automates the whole thing. The other thing which you can use is client intake forms. Now, a practice management system allows that to happen. So you can have a client portal along an intake form. Some of them charge a lot more for it. You can use Office 365's forms to do a client intake through there, or you can gather information regarding affidavits, leases, or more if you're doing property transactions, for example, if you need their ID and stuff. What you need to do is go into Office 365, and they allow you to have a form. So you can create a form, for example, and say, do you want a text form in here? And then you just kind of type in to say, what is, for example, what is your name? And then they can type in their answer, and you can say long answer needed. So become a long answer as a required field. Then you can add another one, and you can say things like, upload a file, and if they need to upload things, you can kind of go through the whole process of doing that. So you see, you can create forms from this, and that works really well for you. Now, finally, I'll just go through the most important, not most important thing. One of the other important things is using Teams. Ben's already spoken about Teams. With Teams, you can get a phone number when you're using this. So basically, if you look up Teams, and then you can say you want a specific phone number, you can get all the numbers, you can get everything going through to your team. So when your client calls you, it goes through to your Teams. And so you can answer it on Teams. You can send messages to your clients through on their phone, because you've got a phone number that they can you can send a SMS from. Also allows for things like where you can talk to them through Teams, and also allows for charging to happen. So if there's a specific phone number with some practice management systems, if you have a specific phone number, that number will be allocated to a meta number, and so we'll start billing. So when a client calls from that number, or you call a client from that number through Teams, it'll start billing, and then when you hang up, it stops billing. So all those things can be automated, so you don't have to be billing all the time and you've forgotten a phone call, but it takes into account all those things. So those are the things that I wanted to talk about, Ben, and to everyone. I hope that was useful. We'll go to question and answers from here. I'll just put up a slide in the meantime. And if you guys have questions, do feel free to ask. I'm just going to have a quick look through the questions, Ben, so that I can ask you.
Fantastic. That was great on Teams. I didn't know the phone number on Teams. That was fantastic. That's very cool.
Yeah, it's a lot better to do that. So a couple of questions. Do you have any comment on data security issues with cloud? Now, Ben, do you have any? Do you have an answer to that?
Yeah, I first of all, I think it's a fantastic question, and you would be right to raise this this concern with all software providers, because there is always risks that come along with rewards. Of course, it's just sort of the nature of the world today. I will say though, just while asking the questions and making sure that your providers are using things like ISO, making sure that they're using high-grade security, that they are encrypting your information. There's lots of questions to go through. I would certainly Google good questionnaires for cloud softwares. I do want to take a step back and just as a general principle, just remember that at the end of the day, most software and most cloud software providers basically outsource the security of their servers as well as their cloud security to some of the largest and most well-funded companies in the world. And that's not to say that large companies can't be hacked into or anything like this, but from a risk reward basis, I think it just always bears in mind that your individual security will never be as powerful and as robust as Amazon Web Services, who basically uses the most cutting edge technology and trillions of dollars worth of investment into their security. So from a risk reward standpoint, there is an argument to say that outsourcing and going to the cloud actually increases your data security versus doing it yourself on premises, where you would basically have to take care of your own security yourself. It would be like outsourcing your army or something versus home security or something. That's just a weird analogy, but it's something to bear in mind, basically.
Yeah, and I have to agree with that. I have always said if I was to put data, I'll probably put it with Google or AWS or Microsoft, because usually they are a lot safer. They spend a lot of time and they have an army of people who try and hack into their system, who get paid so that if there's vulnerabilities, they will pay these people if they find a vulnerability. I think Google has $1 million they pay if you find a vulnerability.
Right, exactly.
So I find that there is advantages to using these systems over what I can do, because I'll be behind. I'll be busy trying to know what the law is and how the law has changed instead of understanding what the security system is. So I recommend using the cloud system in that sense. Now, someone has asked about VPNs and using VPNs and whether that's possible. I still think the cloud way is the way to go, because you have to otherwise create your own network and do everything. So I prefer just using a PMS which has got its own system. You can log in everywhere, and you look for one which has got double authentication thing. So where you have to put in your password and then confirm it via email, via an email or through SMS, because that helps to secure everything a little bit more. Let me just have a quick look again, Ben, before we finish off. So clients run on different platforms, i.e. Windows, iOS, Android, and Linux. How do you handle the different formats from file, graphics, and docs? Do you have a specific software for this, or better have a different hardware or each platform architecture? I can answer this one, Ben. I think if the way that I do things, I do everything in PDF. So I would say Word and PDF is my key things to use, and that can be used everywhere. So if clients are using different things, you can, Microsoft Power Automate can do file transfers. So it can convert it from one file to the other. So I use that feature in there to change and automate the whole process. When a file comes in, for example, if it's in Word format and needed in PDF format, that automation will happen in the background. So you don't need to do it. So you can use those softwares to do that kind of stuff. It's apps that does it, and it's already pre-made already for you to do that. There's a question whether you can receive an email copy of the webinar slides. Ben, you can send it through and I can send it through as well, right?
Yes, no worries.
Yeah, so those are the questions. We don't have many more questions other than that. One last thing is that talk about practice management systems they're stored overseas. Yes, that is true. So you need to look at the Privacy Act, as it 2020, and make sure that you comply with that. And I think some companies even now are looking at doing cloud systems based in New Zealand. I think Microsoft has a New Zealand data center, and AWS is looking at coming here as well. So that's something you can look at doing as well. Ben, thank you for your time with this webinar. It was been great having you on, and all the best with everything. If you need to talk to Ben, his details will be in the slide details. And if you have any questions, feel free to email us through.
Thank you so much, everybody. It was absolutely wonderful going through this series with you. Please, if you have any questions, you can always reach me at ben@nexl.io, or just look up my name on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I will 100% answer your question. But it was such a privilege. Thank you so much to New Zealand Law Society. Thank you, Antesh and Rabia, and everybody else as well. I definitely appreciate it. Yeah, take care, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.